Welcome back. This is Richard Golson, and we are in Lab 2, installing and configuring an ESXi host. Here we are in Task 2, where we are going to configure that ESXi host. In this task, we connect to the host Direct Console User Interface, or DCUI, where we can view and modify our nested ESXi host configuration. So if we take a look over here, we can see that we have the VMware Remote Console window, and within that window is the DCUI. And notice it's grayed out. That means it's gone to sleep. And so in order to make this active, you can just click on it. It may take a couple times, or hit the return key. There we go. So I've clicked on it, grabs my keyboard, then I can hit the enter or return key, and it activates the window, and now I can see it in gray and yellow. So if it happens to be in black or dark gray, it just means it's gone to sleep. You need to click on it and hit the return key or the enter key, and that'll activate it. Now, the DCUI is a low-level configuration and management interface. So it's not for everyday use. And it's accessible through a console of the server. It's used primarily for the initial basic configuration, which is what we're going to go through. The DCUI is text-based. It's a text-based user interface with keyboard-only interaction. So therefore, to log on to it, I'm going to press my F2 key on my keyboard as instructed in the bottom corner of the page. So I'll press the F2 key. So make sure I click into this, hit my return to activate it, get it back onto gray and yellow, and then hit my F2 key. And that brings up the logon page. Now the logon page is indicating that I need to enter a password for the root account. And the password we set is training with a 1 and a $sign at the end. You can see over here on the left side in the instructions. Now the ESXi host, on this ESXi host, the root user account is the most powerful user account on this system. The user root can access all files and commands. So it's really important that we secure this account. Super important step. So we're going to go through a password change to secure it. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's make sure that my keyboard is grabbed. It looks like it is. So now I'm going to hit the tab key to bring myself down to my password. So that was my tab key. And then in the password field, I'll go ahead and enter the password training with a 1 and a $sign. And then press the enter key, which means OK. Give it a moment, and now I'm in the system configuration mode. You can see the screen has changed. You can see on the left side are the different categories, and on the right hand side we can see the details of each category. To move up and down the category list on the left side here, so we can see we have configure password, configure lockdown mode, configure management network. You may feel like you need to click on these, but you do not. You will use your up and down arrow keys to navigate up and down this menu list. Let me go ahead and click in here and show you how that's done. I'll click back in to get the keyboard grabbed. And then what I'll do is I'll use my down arrow on my keyboard to highlight different items, some of which you cannot access, like the configure lockdown mode. But the configure management mode is accessible. Restart management network. Each of these is accessible, and you can go up and down this list using your up and down arrow keys. Let's follow along in the instructions and configure our password. So I'll go ahead and highlight configure password, and then you can see down below here that it says in order to change or make a change to this, in this case I'm going to set my password, I'm going to need to press the enter key. At this point, if I hit the escape key, that logs me out. Let me show you what that looks like. So rather than hitting enter, I'm just going to go ahead and hit my escape key on my keyboard. And that just logged me out. So now I'll need to log back in again. So I'll press my F2 key, logs me back in, hit my tab key to go to the password field, enter the appropriate password, which we can see over here is training with a 1 and a $sign. Hit my enter or return key to say okay, give it a moment, and I'm back in. All right, so pretty easy. Remember down in the bottom right corner, we can see the instructions on how to maneuver. So keep an eye on those. They'll usually show you somewhere near the bottom of the page how to maneuver around. Let's go back in and actually configure that password. So I'm instructed to press my enter key so I can make the change. So I'll hit my enter or return key. And now I need to enter that old password to confirm that I'm allowed to do this and that it wasn't just something left open. I hit the tab, come to my new password, and note the new password that I need to enter here is VMware123 with an exclamation mark. We can see that right over here, the VMware123 with an exclamation mark. We'll go ahead and enter that in here. We'll need to enter it in twice. Clearly, these are not very secure passwords. In practice, you'd use something much more secure, more robust. And I'll hit the return key or enter key to indicate OK. And my password has now been changed. The next step is to configure the management network. So I'll use my down arrow to select the configure management network section here. You can see that a host name has not been set on here, so it just has the default local host for the host name. You can see the IPv4 address was set using a DHCP server. That DHCP server, you can see over here, is at 172.20.10.10. Going to my topology, I can see that 172.20.10.10 is this guy here. So this is an infrastructure server that's providing a lot of services. DNS, DHCP, storage, etc. So jumping back over here, so what we want to do is configure this with a static address. So let's go ahead. Now that I've got configure management network highlighted, I'll hit the enter, which is going to show me more options. And now that I've hit enter, you can see that we have, again, more options on the left side in the yellow, and then the details of each of those options on the right. So what I want to do is use my down arrow key to highlight, and you can see down here it says up and down arrow keys. So I'll go ahead and highlight the IPv4 configuration node. That essentially selects it. And then I'll hit the enter key to change it. Now I need to change the top setting here because right now you can see that it's using dynamic IPv4 addressing. And that's what's selected. You can see that with that little O there. And what I want to do is use my down arrow to highlight set static IPv4 address. And then if you look here in the instructions, it says once you highlight your option here, in this case, we'll have to press the space bar to mark this as selected. So I'll be pressing my space bar on my keyboard to mark this as selected. So let me do that now. You can see now that's marked and the options down below have changed. And so I want to update the IPv4 address with the one that has been indicated in the instructions over here. So you can see the new IPv4 static address is going to be 172.20.10, which is appropriate to the network. But the last octet will be a .54. So I'm only changing one part of that. If I look at the subnet mask options here, you can see the subnet mask is indicating a 255.255.255.0. And that's already what I need. So I won't be changing that one. And then you can also see that the default gateway 172.20.10.10 does not change as well. They're the same. So the only thing that's going to get modified is the IPv4 address, and I'll leave the other ones alone. Just make sure you follow this model, that it looks like this. So let me go ahead and jump back in here and show you a little trick. So I'll hit my return key, and I'll need to hit the enter. I talked too long, so now I'm in change mode, and I've got it set for static, but what I need to do is change this IPv4 address. So I'm going to use my right arrow key and take it all the way over. So I'm just going to press it several times until the IPv4 address is no longer highlighted. Then I'll use my delete key to delete backward and just get rid of that last three numbers in the last octet, and I'll just type in a 54. Worst case scenario is you can delete the whole thing and then retype it. But there you go. So I've set that. The other items, the subnet mask and the default gateway, are still good. So at this point, I need to press the enter key to say that this is okay, that everything is exactly how I want. So I'll go ahead and press the enter key. And I will confirm that configuration. If you take a look over here, you can see that that's now updated here. Now I want to also change my DNS configuration, so I'll use my down arrow here. So click inside of here, go to my DNS configuration, hit enter, and I'm going to take it off of the default, which is getting this information dynamically, and I'll use my down arrow to highlight the second option, and use my space bar to mark it. And now what I want to change here is not the primary DNS server, which is good, but to remove the alternate DNS server address. So I'll use my down arrow and just press delete to remove that. And then go down to the host name, press delete, and then just go ahead and type in the name of this server, which is going to match the name of the virtual machine, SA-ESXi-04. And then press the enter key to indicate that this is okay. The enter or return. And now I can see that my host name has been modified and an alternate DNS address has been removed. Finally, I'm done. I'm ready to accept all my changes. So what I'll want to do at this point is press the escape to exit. And then I need to confirm that I want to apply my changes. So I'll press the Y key for yes. All right. That's configured. So all of those changes have been made. We're good to go. This finishes up this task. When we come back, we'll continue to work with the DCUI in the next task, which is enabling the shell, the ESXi shell, and secure shell. All right, we'll see you in the next video.